The town of Ashbrook had always seemed quaint and serene, with its tree-lined streets and charming cottages. But beneath its picturesque surface, an ancient darkness lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. It all began on a cool autumn evening when the shadows started to whisper. Sarah had just moved into her grandmother's old house on the edge of town. She remembered visiting as a child, the house full of warmth and the smell of freshly baked bread. Now, with her grandmother gone, the house felt eerily silent and cold. She spent her days unpacking and her nights tossing and turning, unable to shake the feeling that she was being watched. One evening, as Sarah was organizing the attic, she stumbled upon an old, dusty journal. It belonged to her grandmother, who had written detailed accounts of her daily life. The entries were mundane at first, but as Sarah read on, they grew increasingly unsettling. Her grandmother had written about hearing whispers in the shadows, voices calling her name, and feeling an invisible presence watching her every move. Sarah dismissed it as the ramblings of an old woman. But that night, she heard it for herself. A faint whispering, like the rustle of leaves in the wind. She froze, straining to hear the words, but they were just beyond comprehension. Her heart pounded as she glanced around the room, seeing nothing but the usual shadows cast by the flickering candlelight. The next day, Sarah visited the local library to learn more about the town's history. The librarian, an elderly man named Mr. Collins, seemed reluctant to talk about the past. After some coaxing, he finally revealed that Ashbrook had a dark history. Many years ago, the town had been plagued by mysterious disappearances, and those who vanished were never found. It was said that the spirits of the lost souls lingered in the shadows, seeking revenge on the living. That night, the whispering grew louder. Sarah lay in bed, clutching the journal, trying to convince herself it was just her imagination. But when the whispers turned into a guttural voice, she knew it was real. Sarah! She bolted upright, her breath coming in short gasps. The room was filled with an oppressive darkness, the kind that seemed to swallow the light. She grabbed the candle from her bedside table and lit it, the small flame flickering wildly as if in fear. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice trembling. The whispering stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. Sarah stepped out of bed, her hands shaking as she held the candle aloft. She walked to the attic, where she had found the journal, hoping to find answers. As she climbed the stairs, the air grew colder, and the whispers returned, more insistent and frantic. She reached the attic door and pushed it open, the creak echoing through the house. The room was filled with shadows, shifting and swirling as if alive. "Sarah, come to us," the voices chanted. In the center of the room stood a figure, shrouded in darkness. Sarah's blood ran cold as she realized it was her grandmother, or rather, what remained of her. The figure raised its head, revealing hollow, empty eyes. "Join us, Sarah." The voices echoed in unison. Sarah backed away, but the shadows closed in around her, their cold touch sapping her strength. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The last thing she saw before the darkness consumed her was her grandmother's face, twisted into a grotesque smile. The next morning, the town of Ashbrook awoke to find Sarah's house empty. She had vanished without a trace, just like the others before her. And in the attic, the shadows whispered, waiting for their next victim.